We all encounter deception. It is part of the human experience. People lie for many reasons. To avoid punishment, to protect someone's feelings, to gain an advantage, to make a story sound better. While the words may form a convincing narrative, the body often tells a different story. Our bodies have a language of their own, one that operates below conscious thought. This silent language can betray true feelings and intentions, offering clues that spoken words conceal. Understanding these signals isn't about becoming a human lie detector, it's about becoming a better observer. Our brains are wired for survival. Honesty is usually the simplest path. When we decide to deceive, the brain works harder. It must invent a false story. It must remember the details. It must actively suppress the truth. That cognitive load, that internal struggle, creates stress. Stress often shows up physically. It leaks out in small, almost imperceptible movements and gestures. These nonverbal cues can signal discomfort and potential deception. They are the body's way of whispering the truth. The key is learning to listen. Consider a simple scenario. One of the most common reactions to the stress of deception is the need to pacify or soothe oneself. These are called pacifying behaviors. They are repetitive, gentle actions that we do to calm ourselves down when we feel anxious or uncomfortable. Think of them as the adult version of a child sucking their thumb. When someone is fabricating a story, the internal pressure can become significant. The body instinctively tries to release this tension and return to a state of calm. These self-soothing gestures are often performed without any conscious awareness. That makes them a reliable indicator that a person is experiencing some form of distress, which could be linked to lying. These behaviors can take many forms. They are often unique to the individual. A very common pacifier is neck touching, gently stroking the side or back of the neck, playing with a necklace. The base of the throat, the suprasternal notch, is rich with nerve endings. Touching it can lower blood pressure and slow the heart rate, a real physiological calming effect. You might also see someone rubbing their forehead, stroking their chin, playing with their earlobe. Imagine you are asking a colleague if they met a project deadline. They say, "Yes, of course, I sent that email this morning," while subtly rubbing the back of their neck with their hand. The words sound confident, but the action suggests discomfort. This single gesture does not mean they are lying. Ask a gentle, non-accusatory follow-up. "Great, I must have missed it. Can you forward it to me?" When people are telling the truth, their words and their body language are typically in sync. Their gestures naturally punctuate and emphasize the key points of their story. Think about someone excitedly describing a vacation. Their hands will move, their eyebrows will raise, their head will nod, along with their words. This is called illustrating. These movements are authentic and spontaneous, reinforcing the spoken message. However, when someone is lying, this natural harmony often disappears. The cognitive effort required to construct a lie means there is less mental energy available for natural, illustrative body language. The result is often a noticeable lack of emphasis. A person who is being deceptive may deliver their story in a flat, monotonous manner. Their hands might remain perfectly still at their sides or clasped tightly in their lap. When they do use gestures, they often feel disconnected from their words. The timing might be off, with a hand movement coming a second after the word it is supposed to emphasize. This delay occurs because the gesture is not coming from a place of genuine emotion or memory. Instead, it is a conscious, calculated addition, an afterthought designed to make the performance seem more believable. The brain has to think, "I should probably use a hand gesture here," which is not how authentic communication works. Let's consider a scenario where you ask an employee why they were late for work. A truthful person might say, "The traffic was unbelievable." Their eyes widen, hands fly up in frustration. Their whole body is involved in telling the story. In contrast, a person who is lying about the reason might say, "The traffic was unbelievable," with their hands resting calmly on the table and no change in facial expression. The words are there, but the emotional and physical conviction is absent. Furthermore, a truthful person will often lean forward, make direct eye contact, and use strong, definitive hand gestures. A deceptive person, on the other hand, will rarely use such emphatic gestures. They are subconsciously afraid of drawing too much attention to themselves. They want to get through the lie with as little scrutiny as possible. The absence of these natural, powerful illustrators is often more telling than any specific gesture they might make. One of the most fascinating and reliable tells of deception is the conflict between a verbal statement and a nonverbal head movement. This is particularly true when someone says yes but subtly, almost imperceptibly, shakes their head no. This contradiction is a classic sign of internal conflict. The conscious mind is delivering the lie while the unconscious, more truthful part is leaking out dissent through a basic gesture. The headshake for no is one of the first and most universal gestures we learn it's hard to suppress under pressure. Often it's a tiny side-to-side tremor lasting a fraction of a second immediately after a positive verbal affirmation. Imagine a manager asking if a report is done. The employee says, "Yes, it's all done," but as they say done, their head gives a slight, rapid shake. That microshake should give you pause. It can work in reverse, though less commonly. Someone might say no while giving a tiny nod yes. Example, "No, it wasn't me," with a faint nod. Their body betrays guilt. These disconnects tap deep neurological pathways. Verbal centers can be controlled. Primitive gesture centers are much harder to command, especially when lying drains cognitive resources. Watch for the incongruence. The body disagreeing with words is a powerful clue. That microshake should give you pause. It may mean the report is only almost done, not a full lie, but it's a clear leak. It can surface in small ways, a guilty nod, an avoidance glance. These disconnects are subtle but reliable. Watch for them. The tiny head shake, a whisper of the unconscious, often contradicts the spoken yes. If you notice it, be curious, not accusatory. Next, how people physically build walls around themselves when stressed. When people feel threatened, uncomfortable, or being deceptive, they'll subconsciously create physical barriers between themselves and the person they're speaking to. They'll place an object between themselves and another person. It's a primitive, instinctual response. It's like the body building a fortress to protect itself. Barriers can be created with objects in the environment or with the person's own body. Common objects: coffee cup, notebook, purse, pillow on a couch. Sometimes a person picks up a coffee mug and holds it with both hands in front of their chest. They're not drinking, they're using it as a shield. Someone might suddenly cross their arms over their chest in a tough moment. In a tough moment that often functions as a self-imposed barrier. Imagine asking a friend if they shared your secret. They pick up a throw pillow and hug it to their chest. They might say, "No, I would never do that." But their body language creates a wall. That blocking signals a spike in discomfort exactly when the question was asked. Subtle barriers, hands steepled at the chest, fiddling with a button or cuff. Anything occupying the space between you can be a barrier. Look for the change in behavior. Relaxed to suddenly closed is a major cue. It shows stress and an unconscious need to protect themselves, possibly because they're preparing to be deceptive. Barriers are a protective instinct, a physical distancing that often signals discomfort. Notice when objects or posture change right after a question. It's a cue to be curious. Next, emotional authenticity and its common inconsistencies. Authentic emotions, they follow a reliable pattern. They engage the entire face, symmetrical and fluid, and align with the context. A genuine smile involves not just the mouth, but also the muscles around the eyes, creating crow's feet. But when someone is fabricating an emotion, their expressions are often inconsistent and incomplete. The display might be asymmetrical, one side of the mouth rising more than the other, or limited to just one part of the face, like the mouth, while the eyes remain vacant and uninvolved. It's hard to consciously control all 43 facial muscles to fake an emotion. One of the clearest examples is the duping delight smile, a small smug smirk that flashes when someone thinks they're getting away with a lie. It's an unconscious leak of pleasure. They often don't realize it. Example: a teenager lying to their parents might momentarily flash a tiny smirk while giving an alibi. Consider a work situation. You suspect a colleague took credit for your idea. They say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I thought we came up with that together." But their surprise expression lasts 5 or 6 seconds. Genuine surprise is fleeting. It quickly morphs into fear, or anger, or happiness. An expression held too long is usually performed for effect, not authentic. Timing and duration of emotions are critical clues. An emotion that appears too quickly or lingers too long is often a sign of fabrication. If someone tells you sad news but smiles before they start speaking, their body is betraying their true feelings. They might actually be enjoying delivering the bad news. Conversely, if sadness vanishes the instant the conversation shifts, it wasn't deeply felt. Authentic emotions have a natural onset, a peak, and a decay. If the display doesn't follow that rhythm, it's likely a performance, not a genuine feeling. Next, why liars sometimes go utterly still. While many people believe that liars fidget, the opposite is often true, especially when the stakes are high. When someone tells a high-stakes lie, they may freeze. It's a primitive survival instinct, like an animal freezing to avoid a predator. They become unusually rigid and still, especially in the upper body. They're trying to make themselves smaller, less noticeable. This stillness contrasts with the natural, fluid movements of a relaxed person. The freeze is caused by cognitive load, inventing the story, monitoring reactions, suppressing the truth. So the brain shuts down non-essential movement. They might sit ramrod straight, or stand ramrod straight, arms locked at their sides or held rigidly in their lap. There's no normal, subtle shift in posture, no shoulder shrugs, no illustrative hand gestures. It's like a statue, delivering lines without animation. Ask casual questions first. They'll move naturally. Then ask pointed ones. When you ask a pointed question, they may suddenly freeze, their hands stop, posture becomes rigid, they stare straight ahead. People know the stereotype that liars fidget, so they try to control their bodies. They take a deep breath and restrain movement. An overcorrection. The result is unnatural stillness, as telling as excessive fidgeting. If someone goes from animated to completely still answering a direct question, be more curious. Their body may be reacting to the fear of being exposed. Next, why the feet often tell the truth. Of all the parts of our body, our feet and legs are often the most honest. While we focus on controlling our facial expressions and hand gestures, we tend to forget about what our lower half is doing. As a result, our feet often reveal our true intentions. When we are engaged, our feet will typically point directly at the person we're talking to. However, when we are feeling uncomfortable or wish to leave, our feet will often start to point away, usually towards the nearest exit, a subconscious intention cue. This behavior is a relic of our fight-or-flight response. When faced with a threat or a situation we want to escape, our bodies prepare to flee. The first part of the body to orient for an escape is the feet. So, when a person is lying, they often feel trapped and have a deep-seated desire to escape the conversation. Their feet will betray their true desire by angling towards a door, a window, or simply away from you. This discrepancy between upper and lower body orientation is a clear sign of internal conflict. This is not limited to just pointing the feet away. You might also observe leg-crossing behaviors away from the partner. Or, they might begin to bounce a foot or tap a toe, nervous energy with no other outlet. These are all signs that the person is not fully committed to the interaction. Picture yourself at a social gathering, talking to an acquaintance. They face you and say, "No, everything is going great." But both of their feet are now pointing directly at the door. Their words say comfort. Their feet say, "I need to get out of here right now." When you observe that someone's feet and legs are signaling a desire to leave, especially right after a pointed question, it is a strong indication they're uncomfortable with the topic. These cues are reliable because we rarely monitor our lower half consciously. Now, bring the signs together and see the bigger picture. Throughout this exploration, we have uncovered 7 subtle but significant signs that can signal deception. From the self-soothing touch of a hand on the neck to the honest direction of the feet, we have seen how a lack of emphasis can betray a fabricated story, how a tiny headshake can contradict a verbal yes, and how the body can freeze in response to the stress of a lie. Understanding these cues, the use of barriers, inconsistent emotions, the stillness of the upper body, equips you with a more profound level of perception. However, it is critically important to approach this knowledge with caution and wisdom. Not a single one of these signs, when observed in isolation, is definitive proof that someone is lying. They might touch their neck because of a stiff muscle or cross their arms because the room is cold. The world of nonverbal communication is one of nuances and context, not absolute certainties. The true skill lies not in spotting a single tell, but in observing clusters of behaviors. The most reliable approach is to first establish a baseline. Observe how a person behaves when they are relaxed and discussing neutral topics. Then, when you introduce a more sensitive topic, watch for deviations from that baseline. Do you see a cluster of 2, 3, or 4 of these deceptive indicators appear simultaneously? Does the person suddenly create a barrier, stop gesturing, and subtly shake their head no all at once? It is this cluster of changes that provides a more reliable signal of deception. Ultimately, becoming a better observer of body language is not about catching liars. It is about understanding people. It is a tool for empathy, allowing you to sense when someone is uncomfortable, stressed, or insecure, regardless of the reason. This awareness can help you navigate conversations more effectively, build stronger relationships, and protect yourself from manipulation. Be curious, be patient, and always look for the bigger picture. The more you watch, the more you will see, and the more you will understand the rich, unspoken story of what everybody is saying. Subscribe to Hidden Patterns at Hidden Patterns 101 for more psychology insights.